love. Get to be mine. Everybody's gonna love somebody, but if it ain't you, then I'll love nobody. I just wanna go and hold somebody. Everybody's gonna love somebody. Losing our spot every day. Turn to me, and I hear you say, everybody's gonna love somebody, but if it ain't you, then I'll love nobody. I just wanna go and hold somebody. Everybody's gonna love somebody. Everybody's gonna love somebody, but if it ain't you, then I'll love nobody.
All right, some really great answers here. I think a lot of you are concerned about engagement. And so maybe, if you have any particular questions about your startup and how your social media activity has been going, please reserve that for our session later. But really, really great to see, some of the things that you feel you need to work on in terms of social media. So we'll definitely have a lot of time to discuss this later on with our guest who will share more about social media storytelling. All right. Thank you, everybody, for participating in our quick poll today. So, as always, just some house rules before we begin our learning lab today. If you could, please rename yourselves here on Zoom to include your organization. And we'd love to see you. So if internet bandwidth allows, please keep your videos on throughout the session and your mics off when not speaking. Be very engaged, ask questions. Our chat box is always open. And there will be lots of times for you to speak to your other entrepreneurs in the cohort. And also, there will be a very long Q&A segment later on when we discuss social media storytelling. And as always, please have fun and enjoy today's session. So, all right, we're at our third and final learning lab for the program. I think it's hard to believe that we're actually at our sixth month of the program. We began in December of 2020. And so over the next 2 days, our sessions will really prepare you for a lot of interactions with investors and market partners, and also deepen the connections within this cohort, right? I think one of the things obviously that COVID got in the way of is us meeting in person and developing a lot of deep bonds as a cohort of the ShelterTech Accelerator in Southeast Asia. But I think we'll have, a few activities that can simulate a lot of the activities that we would have had if we did meet in person. So I think we'll have a lot of very interesting sharing sessions and exercises today where you'll get to meet more entrepreneurs and also get to know them a little bit better. So with that, today's first session is a sharing circle. So um, this is really for us to kind of get to know the other entrepreneurs in the cohort a little bit better, and to also, find out if you are experiencing any challenges, that you could hear from others, if they've faced any similar experiences, or would be able to give you some sound advice on any challenge, and that could be a business or a personal challenge that you're currently facing. And so we'll kind of break out into different rooms later on, into smaller groups, so that we'll have more time to really share some of these challenges to each other. So to kick off today's sharing circle, I just like everybody to take a piece of paper. It could be any piece of paper lying around near you. And for the next 5 minutes, really think about what one challenge it is that you're facing, right? And again, this could be a business challenge. or it could also be a personal challenge. And so just write it down on a piece of paper, and we'll give you some time to reflect, right? Like what that challenge might be. But I think it's very important for us to really verbalize that and put that down on paper. So I'll give everybody a few minutes. I'll play some background music, and then later on we'll break out into some rooms for some sharing. Is that okay? All right. Thanks, everybody.
But it hurts to be alone. But it hurts to be alone. But it hurts to be alone. 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 Do you think about me every night when you turn out all the lights? TV on so you don't have to sleep alone. Do you think back on all the fights? Still convinced I'm out my mind? Or did you get drunk and just pick up the phone? I got you tattooed on my skin to remind myself that I'm better than this. So did you think you'd show up and I let you in? You didn't get me then, so you don't get me now. You don't get me now. I didn't understand how you could walk out, but I do now. I do now. Now I'm better, better than I ever was. Now I'm better, better than I ever was. Now I'm better, better than I ever was. You used to hate when I got sad. Said it always made you feel bad. Never got that it wasn't.
All right. I hope everybody was able to write down a challenge that they're currently facing on their piece of paper. So before we break you out into different rooms, just some general rules about our sharing circle. So this exercise is really to help us cultivate empathy and to let us practice deep listening. So some key rules for us to keep in mind before we go out into our breakout rooms is to number one, speak from the heart. You know, it's very hard to be vulnerable and to actually share some of the challenges that we're facing. But I think you will be able to find some comfort in the fact that everyone in the group is struggling with something, right? Especially in this very difficult time, there is something that you can learn from each other, especially around some of the things that you find very challenging at this moment. And that could, again, be a business challenge or a personal challenge. Number two, listen with compassion and without judgment. So our sharing circle is really a safe space for us to explore, what could we do around our challenges? What are things that people have done? What feedback can you solicit from entrepreneurs who have maybe gone through similar things in the past? So always keep in mind that you should be listening to the other person's challenges or problems with compassion and without any judgment. Second, please practice active listening. Be present, right, in your sharing circle. So spend a lot of time to listen to what the other person has to say, and don't stress too much about what you're going to say next, right? So really be there in the moment, and spend a lot of time to listen to what the other has to say. Third, because you're in a group, speak leanly. So, you know, we have only a limited time to do this. So make sure that you're able to concisely say what you have to say. And you'll take turns, sharing both your challenge and also providing some feedback and suggestions to what the other is facing. And lastly, what is shared in the circle stays in the circle. So our sharing circle is really a safe space, and it's also one that's built on trust, right? So remember that whatever stays within this Zoom stays here. So some instructions before we go out, and I think Mickey will also share these instructions in the chat box. So in your group, you will have 2 or 3 other entrepreneurs with you, and you will take turns to share your challenge and solicit feedback from your peers. So whoever is in your group, feel free to kind of point who wants to go first, and that sharer or presenter will share their challenge to the group for the first 2 minutes. And then once those 2 minutes are up, everybody else in the group will have 3 minutes to ask any clarification questions, right? So answer those clarification questions, and then after that, the sharer will go on mute. And so this is a time for the sharer to really actively listen to all of the feedback that others in the group will be able to provide. So for all the listeners in the group, discuss the potential solutions you have in mind for the challenge that was presented to you. And this will go on for about 10 minutes. After that, the presenter can then respond to the solutions that were provided by the listeners. And then you can discuss very briefly. And then after that, we go on to the next person. So another person will share, and then the process begins again where the listeners will have questions, and then the sharer will go on mute, and then you can discuss the potential solutions and then respond to it. So that goes on until everybody has taken their turn. And I really hope that this, enables you to empathize with other entrepreneurs, even if they're not in your home country, even if they're in a different sector. This will really help us understand what everybody else is going through. And you never know, right? Like somebody else in this group might have faced something very similar before and can provide some very useful feedback for you. So these are the instructions for our sharing circle today. Mickey will now break us up into different groups. So before that, are there any questions around today's instructions for our sharing circle? All right, I'll take that as a no. Okay, Mickey, you can put us in different breakout rooms now.
Okay, you should be getting prompts now.
Time in their breakout rooms earlier, sharing some of their challenges with other people from the cohort. So very, very excited for our next segment. Hold on. There we go. Let me just briefly share my screen. All right. So allow me to introduce our next speaker for today. Slater Young is a Filipino-Chinese entrepreneur, engineer, actor, television, and online personality in the Philippines. His background in engineering led him to establish his own company, Lightblock. Lightblock has revolutionized construction as a superior, environment-friendly, and more efficient substitute for traditional concrete blocks. He spearheads the development, design, and production of Lightblock and is a real estate developer. He's a young and dynamic entrepreneur in the Philippines, and he's been able to effectively leverage his popularity on social media to advocate for environment friendly construction practices, inspire leadership, and encourage an entrepreneurial spirit. Earlier this year, he launched a podcast, which is now the #1 podcast in the Philippines. I think he'll do a much better job introducing himself. So please welcome Slater Young, who is also part of the ShelterTech Southeast Asia Steering Committee. Thanks so much for joining us, Slater.
Hey everyone, thanks so much for having me, Kat. I'm actually a little bit nervous. I haven't done an online class before, but I'm very happy to share how we did what we were able to do when it comes to growing your social media presence. And I feel like it didn't come organically to me, and a lot of it is actually done um, by learning from other people. I work with a lot of influencers. My wife is a very successful content creator as well. So these bits and pieces that came over the years, I'm very happy to share it with you guys, because I really feel like everyone has a shot in gaining real social media presence.
Great. Thanks so much, Slater. I think maybe to kick off today's session, maybe we could just ask everybody to briefly introduce themselves and maybe a one-liner about their business. So Slater has actually read up about all of you. We've sent him a lot of materials. He's part of our steering committee, but I think it would be great to put some faces associated with the names and the companies. So maybe we could start with, by alphabetical order for the companies. Maybe we could start off with Nick and Tim from Affordable Abodes.
Hi everyone. Hi Slater. Nice to meet you.
Hi Tim.
Yeah, I'm Tim from Affordable Abodes, based in Malaysia. My partner Nick Aoyong is also on the call. What we do is we make biocomposite building materials from upcycled biomass. And, we take the parts of the kanaf core, which nobody uses. Kanaf is a hibiscus plant, and we fabricate blocks and panels and build affordable housing with that. And yeah, so we've been doing that for about 5 years. Of course, it's been a real struggle over the last year with the pandemic lockdown situation. So we're looking forward to hearing about how you've been successful with online media. Thank you.
All right.
Great, thanks, Tim. Next, maybe we could have Kara from Billion Bricks.
Hi.
Hi, Kara.
Hi, Slater. I'm Kara Reyes, representing Billion Bricks on the architecture and design side. So Billion Bricks is a Singapore-based company, and it basically combines affordable social housing that's sustainable because it uses solar roofs. So each community basically acts as a solar farm that exports 100% of the energy generated to the grid, and the proceeds from the sale of the energy is used to subsidize the cost of the houses in the community, which makes it in turn more accessible or affordable to lower income families.
Yeah.
Nice to meet you.
Again, we met before.
Oh, that must have been the previous design intern. Yeah,
Oh,
I'm new
okay.
here.
I thought it's the same. All right.
Great, thanks, Kara.
Thanks, Kara.
Okay, I think next, I'm not sure if we have anyone from Gradana. Maybe Diaz, if you're here, maybe just briefly introduce yourself and Gradana to the group.
Hello, I attended as temporary subsession for Angela. Gradana is peer-to-peer lending basis for property in Indonesia, which is we running the company in structure of peer-to-peer lending, which is we give Indonesian for the home and for living, something like that.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Diaz. Next, Kongi from My Dream Home.
Hi, Slater. Nice to meet you. So I'm Kungi from My Dream Home. It's social enterprise that produce the brick that its system is like Lego. and people can be trained to build a house within 3 hours. And so far we build around 1,000 homes across the country, and it's really great to and then want to learn from you how to become more popular on social media and influence in construction sector.
Great, thanks, Kongi. Next, we could go to Sampangan. So maybe Hannah, just a brief introduction.
Hi, I'm Surya. I'm representing Sampangan because
Oh, go
Anna
ahead.
couldn't make it. Yeah, I'm Surya from Indonesia. We are basically processing waste into carbon material that we use to create panel. Thank you.
All right.
All right,
So it's a walling product.
it is.
Sorry?
All right.
Yeah.
All right, and then next we'll go to Annabelle from Socialite.
Hi.
Yeah, hi Slater, I'm Annabelle from Socialite. So what we do is
Fawzal here.
sorry.
Oops, sorry. Fawzal, are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, sorry, we're on the road. Hi, my name is Fawzal from Sampangan, Indonesia. So what we do is we recover value from landfill waste and convert it into more sustainable, more affordable, and safer building material in the form of activated carbon prefabricated module that enables to build houses much more efficiently and faster and affordable. So thank you.
All right.
Thanks, Fawzal. Sorry, Annabelle, go ahead.
Yeah, so hi, I'm Annabelle from Socialite. So what we do is we connect the unconnected sustainably. And how we do that is through our Wi-Fi monetization platform that incentivizes telcos to put up that last mile. So that's what we do. We provide access to the internet, be cheaper or if not free man.
Thanks, Annabelle. And then last, we have Riz from Tap Effect.
Hi Slater, I'm Riz. I'm from Tap Effect. We provide tap water to rural communities in villages in Cambodia. We have 2 sites that are operational right now. Our main site has covers a population of 14,000 people, and we install tap water next to their homes, so they don't have to collect rainwater or river water or buy bottled water. So we also save them money as well.
All right. Thanks.
Great. I think that's everyone, Slater.
All right. Okay, a little bit about me. Okay, Naka.
Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead.
Yeah. So just so you have an idea of who I am, and why I'm talking, and why I feel like I have something to say about the social media area. I started as an engineer and a contractor, and then I won this reality show here in the Philippines about 10 years ago. So that propelled me into becoming a celebrity and actor, but I felt like it wasn't for me. So I went back into entrepreneurship. I established my company, which is Light Block. It's a lightweight concrete technology that is all about walling products. So I can relate a lot with a lot of you when it comes to introducing new items, new technology into the market. And I feel that I feel you, because you guys are going against tradition when it comes to introducing new things, and that is one of the hardest things to do, to change a certain mindset. So I started that business. I'm also into real estate. We're doing high-end houses here in Cebu in the Philippines, and so my core competency is around the construction industry. So I kind of faded out from the limelight, and I just posted sometimes on Instagram. And then there was this new business opportunity here when it comes to real estate and Light Block, that I felt like I want to market it again. I want to market myself again. So this is where the story about social media comes in. I started, although in my Instagram page, I think about 2 years ago, I had about 200, 300,000 followers. And fairly recently, it went very, very high up very quickly because of these things that I'm about to tell you. My YouTube channel, I specifically made it to market a real estate company, but it went viral somehow here in the Philippines. So I started my YouTube channel about 7 months ago, started from zero, and I'm now at, I think, almost around 500,000 subscribers, which I feel like is a very, very good result organically. There are a lot of brands that contact me and work with me. So I know a lot about marketing as well. And even some of our competitors, they don't know that their product sometimes competes with me. So they inquire if they can get me to endorse their product. So that is happening as well. Aside from that, I want to address the issue that some of you might think that it's easier for me because I'm a celebrity. I don't think that's the case because there are a lot of celebrities that don't work on YouTube, and there are certain, I think, tricks of the trade to follow when it comes to doing social media. And as Kat said, also, we are the #1 podcast in the Philippines, and these are all organically done, but also there's a framework that we followed when it comes to understanding which platforms, what works with Instagram, what works with Facebook, what works with podcasts. So there are different ideas and concepts to be executed when it comes to these platforms. Yeah, so that's a brief introduction of me. I prepared bullet points on what to talk about here. Should I go ahead, Kath? Or
Yeah, go
All right.
ahead. And then I think maybe we can open up for questions later.
Yeah, I'll try to address. I listed down all the things that you told me about their problems, their expectations, and I'll try to be as specific as possible when it comes to talking about the social media platforms, because this is most of the businesses here are semi-technical versus I'm just selling clothing. It's a different approach as well. So I'll try to cater to that. So the #1 question would always be, which channel do I go to? There are a lot of channels and it becomes confusing, especially when you have to create a lot of content for all these channels. And there's YouTube, there's Facebook, there's Instagram, there's TikTok, there's Spotify. There's so many things that are very, very popular right now. But each of these platforms, we have to be aware that there are always different people in these platforms and different personality types. Even if it's still the same person, the personality type, your own personality type changes when you go to these certain platforms. For example, if I am looking at Instagram, I tend to be less engaged. I tend to be more involved in more lifestyle things. I don't want the technical aspects. If I'm looking at ads, it would most likely be clothing, jewelry, or watches, something that I can grasp right away. For when I'm looking at Facebook, Facebook is more of the older generation. It's a better attention span. You tend to dwell more on the posts. You tend to look through series of photos. You tend to be more engaged when it comes to videos, but the most engagement will always be YouTube. It's something to do with how they designed the app, because on Instagram, I'm just a thumb swipe away from the next content. For YouTube, I have to flip my phone horizontally. So there's like a psychological thing when it comes to these types of things. So these are all something we have to be aware of, the demographic that we have to be aware of. Instagram is good for impressions, not very good for teaching people about your product. If you're talking about, let's say, for example, I have a solar company that has to do with housing. It's very, very hard to articulate that on Instagram, but it's a lot easier if you are given the time to articulate that when it comes to Facebook, or better yet, YouTube. So for a lot of the companies here, after hearing you out, I would highly, highly recommend YouTube to be the #1 platform. Why YouTube? YouTube is a lot harder to produce content with, but when you get certain content, you can break it down into smaller bite-sized pieces and post it on Facebook. And then you can break it down even further to maybe a 15-seconder, 30-seconder, and post it on Instagram. So your one content can be made into a lot of bite-sized content. So that makes it a lot easier. But not only that, I believe that YouTube is a very, very important platform, because it's like, whenever we're interested in a product nowadays, we always go to search engines. YouTube is the number 2 search engine in the world. And when we try to, for example, if I'm looking for a certain camera I want to buy. If I can't see anything about it online, it's as if this product does not exist. I don't know if this will fit me. I don't know if this will actually help me out. I don't know the downsides, the positive side. We tend to read a lot of reviews right now. So I feel like if you're not on YouTube, it's similar to 10 years ago when you don't have a website. Like, how do I know about this product? How do I know that they're credible if I don't see anything about them being posted online? Do you guys so far okay? Okay, so YouTube tends to create a lot deeper engagement. Don't worry, I'll talk to you about how to execute YouTube later on. There's a certain amount of relationship that's being built when it comes to YouTube that does not happen with other social media channels. Whenever I post a video on Instagram and it's viral, let's say, for example, it reaches 200,000, 300,000 views versus a YouTube video with the same amount of views, there's a deeper connection. When I see people, they always refer to, oh, I saw your YouTube video about this. Thank you so much. So there's a deeper connection. You can explain more, and it can, I would say, engagement-wise, it's the best. I'd rather have 10,000 views on a very niche YouTube topic when it comes to my business versus 10,000 likes on Instagram. It tends to translate more when it's a YouTube video. Yeah, I think at the end of the day, YouTube tends to give you more credibility as a brand. Yeah, for the reasons to focus on the YouTube, I think those are the main points on why we should focus with YouTube. Any questions so far?
All right, I'd encourage everybody to type your questions in the chat box if you have any. But maybe Slater, I think for a lot of the entrepreneurs, for example, they have very lean teams, right? So if, for example, they'll start to create a YouTube strategy that would require, additional hours of manpower or an additional person, how would you sort of advise them on resource management, especially if YouTube is something that's very new to them?
All right. The very first thing, I actually had the YouTube platform in my mind like 2 years ago, but I never got started because I was too afraid, similar to what Kath is telling you guys, asking is, I was too afraid to start because I didn't have the right equipment. I didn't invest in a good camera. I didn't have an editor. I wanted everything to be written down really, really well, scripted, production style, shooting, everything. That's what I wanted. Then that was the reason why I never started. And the pandemic hit and we were just bored at home. So I told my wife, hey, can you grab the camera? Let's just shoot a YouTube video and we'll see how it goes. So what ended up as my first video in my YouTube channel was me talking about teaching people about different ways to light their home. I talked about cool lighting, warm lighting, different types of switches, different types of outlets. So that was my first YouTube video. That YouTube video started off fairly okay. I was around maybe 10,000 subscribers after that YouTube video. And the next YouTube video is we're all about homes because we were stuck at home. It was all about how to clean the home, how to get rid of ants in your home. So it's all very easy, organic, if you were to search my YouTube channel, just try to see the very, very first YouTube videos that I've done versus the ones that I've done 6-7 months after. There's a very, very stark difference. We didn't even use a mic. The audio was bad, it was echoey. And I would suggest that that's a perfect way to start. That's a perfect way to learn. It's better to learn about the platform by doing it versus a class and then you understand everything, but it doesn't really sink in until you start doing it in real life. Okay, I listed down some points. I actually had this in mind also that a lot of the companies here are startups and won't have a lot of resources. For me, it doesn't cost much to actually do a YouTube video. Here, at least here in the Philippines, to shoot a video is basically free. What we do is my wife uses a cheap camera. I think this is the camera that we used. I'll show you guys. It's broken down. This is the first camera that we ever used. It's broken down. It's taped over. This was the very first camera. So you don't have to actually even use this. iPhones right now have very good camera quality. So that side is fixed. That's all about execution. Nothing to do with cost. It's all about dreaming about the right topics. I'll talk about that later. But the one that's expensive, I think, is not expensive. The one that needs expense is just hiring the right editor. And there's a website called Fiverr, Fiverr.com, if you're familiar with it. You can hire creatives there that can edit your video for you. It depends on their skill level on the cost, but I think that would be fairly cheap relative to what you have to spend when you're like seeding products, giving products, paying other influencers to do it for you. So I would start there. Unless, like in the Philippines, it's a lot cheaper to actually hire student editors to do it for you. Maybe it's like 5,000 pesos, $100 per video here in the Philippines. So it's really not that expensive. It's more of the content that you create out there. And when it comes to content, this is my number one advice. Number one advice is to niche down as specialized as possible because you don't want to be the viral thing. It's very hard to be viral. You niche down to a segment of a segment. When you're talking about, let's say, for example, I have low-cost housing. Your topic should revolve around that at the very beginning, at least. How to make sure your budget is right when building your home. How to choose the right low-cost house for you. So it's not a hard sell. It's mostly search engine terms. You're using YouTube as a search engine for people that are having specific problems. So when they reach your channel, they'll be more engaged. The relationship is a lot deeper because of a very specific need that they had that you answered and helped them with. So the topics of your YouTube channel or your YouTube video should be all about helping them. And you can even niche it down further to your specific area. How to look for good low-cost houses in Malaysia or Singapore or Philippines. How then you can evolve that to more topics which revolve around the same idea and concept. How to get funding for your low-cost home, how the proper ways to go about the government system to make sure you save. Or when it comes to solar, how to compute if solar is worth it for you. So it's very organic and it's nothing to do with hard selling and shoving a product down the throat of the people watching. If you look at my YouTube channel, the most I talked about our product was just one video out of the 30 videos we've made already. Was just one video, and it was talking about how I started my business and how I was touring around the factory, how we started from very small company to a fairly okay, doing well company right now. So it's all about the story you tell around it. Never about, you will never, ever watch a product where right now, these days, we are very, very aware of when we are being sold to. We don't click on videos that we are being sold to. When a sponsor contacts me, Slater, can you post this? And this is the way you say it, and this is the way you sell it. This is exactly, please buy this because this is very nice. It really does not do well, even if it's coming from me as a celebrity. It really never does well. You don't want to say, this is our product. This is Light Block. This is very nice. This is very, so it doesn't work in the digital space. It works for ads like, hey, this is Nestle. That works as an impression, but it doesn't develop the deep relationships that you need to convert those into sales and to convert those into a proper audience. If you search on YouTube, you'll be surprised about how niche you can go. When I was doing a podcast, I was researching for microphones. There are channels dedicated to just reviewing microphones, and they have like 200,000 followers, and their followers are very much into microphones as well. So that's how targeted you can go. So number one rule, no hard sells. Second rule of YouTube is you have to give quality content. Quality content does not mean having to shoot it like if it's shot by production studio. Quality content means you answer their questions well, you answer it straightforward, and you get to the topic as fast as possible. So if you've ever watched any review channel that are any good, they always put a story arc around it, the beginning, middle, and end. Like, why do you want to watch this? This is the meat, and I answered the very first one. So the concept of why you want to watch this, the second one would be, these are all the contents that I talked about, and then a conclusion. And they're very straightforward. They don't drone on. If it's a 2-minute video, Okay, make it 2 minutes. Don't try to make it as long as possible. Just give the answer outright. Like other reviewers, when it comes to those that are starting up, starting to learn, it's always, hey guys, welcome to my channel. And then they, if you're new here, please don't, and it takes a while. It takes them 2 minutes just to introduce themselves. You don't want that. You just say, okay, let's say, for example, we're talking about how to, I did a video about this, how to compute the electricity cost in your home. So I started the video with the introduction. Oh, our bill just came in and it's very, very expensive. And I want to figure out why it is that way and how are all these appliances that we are using for summer making our bill more expensive. So I had a power meter, and the whole video was all about computing the power in your home. And then the ending would be that. So that is why our bill costs like this, because this aircon is very expensive. This is too big, etc. So if I were to introduce that into, let's say, for example, a solar powered company, that can be the same topic and just related to a solar company. I'm hoping I'm not like overwhelming you. I'm trying to make it as approachable as possible, but yeah, this is my first time giving a talk.
Yeah,
so
I think we have a question in the chat box. So this is from Riz of Tap Effect. He says, how do I reach rural customers in specific areas or villages to sell tap water to them? They do use YouTube, but what can I use as a hook or topic to attract them?
Tap water to rural villages. What specific advantage do you have about giving tap water to them? Like, are you saving them money? Is it more, is it cleaner? So you can revolve around that topic. If it's about being cleaner, you can say, you can do a series of videos. Don't expect those videos to do well right away. A lot of YouTubers, like you'll be happy with 1,000 views, but that's because you're very niching down, and then you're slowly growing from there. But your foundation would be better. Anyway, you're trying to sell them on the idea of why they should be using tap water. So you can even talk about okay, saving money, convenience, better health. So those are all either one topic, or you can break those down into other topics. You can reach them by how to save. You don't even have to talk about water. You can talk about a whole different topic when it comes to how to save on water costs when you're at home. So use an aerator, those things that you attach to the faucet so that it saves you water. I don't know if you're familiar with it. That's something. And then those are 1, 2, 3, and one of them would be your product. So that's it. With all these things, these are a lot of technical things. I don't know a lot of, I mean, when I am researching a topic, I probably know about 80%. And then I go on Google and I research a topic more so I can give better advice. The quality of content matters. What you say matters, not the shots. It's all about what you say. So if you can give them good information that they have a good takeaway, they'll be more invested in your channel, and they'll tend to go back and go back and go back and watch more, and they'll share it to their friends, and that's how you grow. So basically, it's all about helping people. At least that's how I grew my channel. If you looked at it, there's very, very few anything to do with lifestyle. It's all about how do you save electricity, how do you save water, is it how do you design a bathroom so that it's safe? It's all about these things, because it's very hard to be discovered if especially like us, we're business people, we tend to be more boring than the than the interesting actors and comedians out there that are on YouTube. So we have to lean towards our strengths, which is we can give them valuable information.
All right. There's also a question from Hannah of Sampangan. She sent this to us by email last night. What are the best ways to turn social media followers into clients or customers?
Oh, it's always about the call to action. It's always about the call to action. But I feel like if you develop a good relationship with them, you become the authority. Like for example, with Lightblock, since my YouTube video is doing well, we're competing. Actually, Lightblock is fairly underfunded compared to our competitors. Our competitors, as I know, we have two very, very big competitors, and we're still doing better than them. They're about 10 times our capital. But because I'm an authority figure when it comes to talking about houses, if you see me all the time talking about how to make sure your house is beautiful, how to make sure your walls are perfectly straight, perfectly aligned, how to make sure you have no plumbing problems. If you see me all the time talking about this, would you buy a house from me or not? You would be more likely to trust me when I sell you a house. You would be more likely to trust me when I sell you a product, because I never asked anything from you. I never sold you anything. I just talked about my business on the side while giving you good information that is actually useful for you. It's not anything manipulative. It's being very, very authentic so that they have a takeaway that, okay, I like this guy because he helps me out. So we have good comments like, in our YouTube videos, I'm really, really gonna buy your product when I build a house. So it's all about developing that deep relationship. So even with me, this is like a different segment. This is not applicable, but I'll just share a story. There are a lot of brands that approach me that want to work with me. But if they want to pay me, like, let's say, for example, $2,000, later I'll give you $2,000, post this on social media. But if the product is not fit to me as a person, if I don't believe the product in the product, I don't accept it, even if it costs me money by not accepting it. Because I want that relationship more than any other thing. You cannot pay me for the relationship that I have with the people that trust me. So I never put as much as possible. If I am, those COVID masks, that was an issue here in the Philippines where there was a hole. They approached me, they wanted to work with me, they pay me money. They usually pay a lot more than the usual because they kind of know that it's shady. I say, no, sorry, even if you pay me a lot of money, I'm not gonna post it. So it's developing that trust with your audience and being authentic.
All right, thanks, Slater. There's also a question from Kongi in the chat. What are the tools and programs that you use to create YouTube videos?
Well, I don't edit my own YouTube videos. Again, we hire an editor. Me and my wife, we have a full-time YouTube channel, so it's easy for us to pay someone monthly. But as I know, I think they're using Adobe Premiere Pro. You can actually edit it on your own. It takes a while, it takes a lot of time, but it's not hard. Everything is on YouTube. You can, similar to what we're trying to teach, there are also people trying to teach editing softwares. And it's fairly straightforward. What I would say when it comes to YouTube is to cut out all the dead air. Just squeeze in all the information. If it's a 10-minute video, try to make it 8 minutes. Try to take out the ums, the ahs. You don't have to speak like super well, as long as you take out all the ums, or when you're being redundant, you take that out. That's the world we live in right now. We want information and we want it fast.
Great, thanks. So I just also want to get a sense from the group. What's your most used social media channel? Is it Facebook? Are you on YouTube? Is it Instagram or LinkedIn? Maybe you could type in the chat. And then, if you have any specific questions around any of those
Yes.
social media platforms, maybe you could direct those questions to Slater as well.
Yeah. While we're waiting for that, I'd just like to say that a big part of this is consistency. You can have a viral video, and then at the end of the day, uh, if you stop posting on social media, people would just forget about you. So it has to be consistent, quality and consistency. You know how let's say for example, Instagram, we go to a certain page and it's not active anymore. Nobody is uploaded. We tend to look at the date when the last post was. And if that date was a month ago, or even worse, 3 months ago, most likely we would say to ourselves, is this company still existing? So it's all about being consistent. Maybe I would suggest YouTube. It really depends on the best quality you can make. At the most posts you can do with the best quality that you can make. I tend to post about once a week. My wife can post twice a week, but I look at her and I feel like I can't do that. I have other things to do. Two times a month is actually even okay, as long as you just keep on keeping on, because it's all about recall. The first time I posted about light block, oh, Slater has light block. Second time I post about it, what is this light block thing? Third time, seems nice. And it's like, just like the ads we see, the first time we see it, it's like, okay. So it's all about consistency. We're asking about when it turns into an actual purchase or an actual sale. It takes a while. It takes about a few impressions for you to be actually curious about the product.
Great. Any questions from the group? Maybe you could share maybe your specific experience with social media and any particular challenge that you can ask Slater about.
When it comes to LinkedIn, I'm sorry, I don't really use LinkedIn. I'm not very good at LinkedIn. Is it critical to build a personality on social media for a leader or a startup or a company? Why is it important or not that important? It really depends on you. I feel like you can get away with having no face in the brand. Like for me, my brand is very attached to my companies because I'm leveraging on my being a celebrity. But you can always make it into something like a listicle. A social media channel that does this really, really well is IKEA. IKEA will give you a lot of home tips. They don't sell you the product outright. They just say, oh, this is an IKEA table, but this is how you renovate your home. This is how to make use of a small space. So it's all about tutorials, but there's no face behind it. So it depends on the execution that you want. My wife was talking about a yoga brand that she follows, she likes, but she never watches their YouTube video because, hey guys, we have a new product coming out. Again, it's all about too much hard sell. There's no takeaway from watching a video. So it's all about helping people with their problems. I hope I was able to answer Andrew's question.
All right. I think, earlier in our poll this morning, we were also asking what you guys need help with in terms of building your startup's brand story on social media. And I think a lot of you were talking about conversion, engagement, and reach. So maybe Slater, I think for a lot of them, they're probably on Facebook and Instagram right now.
Yeah.
So maybe you could also share, some tips or best practices that you found are useful in terms of racking up engagement and also conversion for Light Block, for example.
Okay, from my personal experience, Instagram does not work for light block. For some reason, people know about it, people follow it, but it doesn't really translate into engagement. Maybe 5% of what Facebook provides us. But again, number one is YouTube, because I can just post something on YouTube and repost that entire thing on Instagram. I mean, on Facebook. Facebook tends to be better suited to denser topics. If you can make short topics, that's better for Facebook, maybe around 3 minutes, 4 minutes. YouTube is for about 10 minutes. Instagram, you're pushing it at 2 minutes. So it's all about the attention span in each of these categories. What worked well, if I can share you guys want to see what we did for Light Block?
Yeah, go ahead. I think you can,
This is-
if you want to share your screen, you can do so.
With these in mind, when it comes to attention spans, it's like always all about attention span, because we're always distracted whenever we're consuming social media. So what we did with Light Block is what we did with Light Block is we shortened everything. Wait, share my screen. Even our website is very straight to the point. You're using HoloBlocks for your old project. In the Philippines, we're using HoloBlocks. Future-proof your home with Light Block's patented technology. So it's all about, wait, it's not loading well. Sorry. So even when it comes to our videos, it's very quick and straightforward. It's like 1:20 long, so it's very shareable on YouTube and on Facebook and Instagram. And you get the gist of the product and makes you want to inquire more about it. You kind of know that it's easy to work with. You can use it for pipes that we are demonstrating. It's very visual, and you kind of know everything that's going on right away without having someone to talk, because sometimes we turn off the sounds in our phone. Yep. So I just wanted to show you guys that, because there are a lot of product videos that, welcome to Lightblock. Lightblock has been established 1990. So you know that those kinds of product videos, it really doesn't work for social media. It has to be straightforward, abrupt, answers the question, what do I get from this product right away? So I hope that that video actually answers that.
All right. There's also a question from Kara in the chat. Is it better to start off gaining a following first with Instagram or Facebook before starting a YouTube channel, or would you suggest to start off with YouTube first?
If I were to build it from scratch right now, I'll start YouTube across and register across the board, the same name that I can get. And then start with YouTube, break it down, cut it down to smaller pieces. And from a YouTube video, if I were to break some, let's say for example, I have 5 home saving tips for a YouTube video. And then I can break each of those tips into one video for Facebook. So tip number 1, I'll post it on Facebook. Tip number 2, I'll post it on Facebook. And probably condense all of it and make it into a listicle. I don't know if you guys are familiar with a listicle. It's just a list of things that are flashed fairly similar to the light block video. Boom, 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 boom. Number 1, turn off electricity when not in use. That's it. And number 2, number 3, number 4, number 5. And then that can be even made denser, or you can just repost that on your Instagram account. So the YouTube content is your core content, and you break it down into smaller chunks for all your other social media platforms. So it's all about just editing. The content is already there. So it doesn't cost you anything more aside from the editing it costs.
All right.
Is it?
Yeah, and thanks, Kara, for the question.
Yeah.
And then we have a question from Johanna. Are there any specific types of videos or video tactics that work best with Filipinos?
This is a good question because there are a lot of things that you have to be aware of when it comes to different parts of the world. In America, they have their way of doing YouTube videos. Here in the Philippines, we're more into how to save, doing DIY a certain way, because the American channels don't do it does it a different way also. So that's our advantage also, because we can niche down again. You can talk about how to build a wall in Malaysia or Indonesia, and in the Philippines, how to save electricity in the Philippines, or does solar panels work for the Philippines? The ROI when it comes to solar panels in the Philippines, because it would be a different rate versus if I were in a different part of the world. So these are all very, very good questions that you kind of get a feel for it after producing content, because people comment. Read the comments and you would know the types of things that they're interested in. For example, I was doing I think it was some sort of video about home advice, and people were commenting, can you tell us more about container van homes? So I read a lot about that and a lot of those comments, and I tried to address those comments. Is it cheaper? Is it more energy efficient? Is it really faster? So I condensed that into one YouTube video, and I think that YouTube video alone, because I listened to what they were, what the people wanted, I think it's almost 1 million views on YouTube. So it's all about getting the content out there, so you can have it. It kind of snowballs from there, what people are interested in. Thank you for this. Can you talk about more about this?
All right, thanks, Slater. Any other questions for Slater? Maybe you can share some use cases within your company, what you've struggled with in the past in terms of social media.
Yeah. Maybe anything specific I can help you guys with. I know it's overwhelming. There's a lot of things to think about, but number one advice for you guys would just be get started and just tweak from there. My first YouTube videos were crap. It wasn't any good. And yeah, just people appreciate that. People appreciate the journey that you started. It's very authentic. It started with just being shot on a crappy camera with bad audio, and it slowly started to evolve into better quality. And you also learn, if you want to be the one to narrate, if you want to narrate it, I was bad at narrating, hosting, talking to a camera is very, very awkward, but you kind of get used to it after a while, it's just getting the reps in. Does
Alright.
animation videos work better than in-person videos? Depends. There are a lot of animation channels that do well. There are a lot of in-person videos that do well. Depends on the type of content you want to create, but it also depends on the product. The thing about animation is it doesn't show the real product, which is harder. That's at least my personal opinion. Animation videos, I think, also tend to cost more. And it's hard to do it on the fly. You can't use an iPhone. You have to know how to do the animation. I don't have, not very good at that. The main problem for me, at least for me, no time for making videos. Any suggestion for that? There really is. If you're spending time when, like for me, I'm managing a podcast, my Instagram account, my YouTube channel. Our podcasts are posted on YouTube as well. And I have a real estate company. I have Light Block. So, and I'm a full-time father here at home. So yeah, that's a lot of things on my plate. It used to take me a lot longer to shoot videos because I was still learning the skill. But if you do your research, I think especially for us, when it comes to technical stuff and it comes to tutorial type of things, the bulk of the time would be researching it and plotting it down. I usually have a list and I have bullet points of what I want to talk about so that I don't forget. So I'll read it and then take on camera. That's the longest time, conceptualizing, researching. Shooting it depends, but I would say half a day or sometimes even just 2 hours. If you prepared it right, it's easy, it's fast to do. That's why I also do one video a week only, but it's doable. You just have to, the editing part is the hardest. So that I would recommend to outsource. That takes the longest amount of time. Please share advice on content, introduction, body, conclusion. Okay, so there should be some sort of a story arc. This is like filmmaking, which I learned recently. So in my most recent video, I talked about bathrooms, the advice on what to do when it comes to bathrooms. I did the video because my wife slipped in our bathroom and it was my fault because I didn't use non-slip tiles on my bathroom. So that was the reason for making the video. That's the introduction. So in this video, we'll talk about the tips, that the do's and don'ts, the mistakes that we made, and the good decisions that we've done for our bathroom so that you don't repeat our mistakes. So that is the introduction. I'm telling you what this whole video is about. And then the body itself, the things that I promised that I will tell them. And then the ending is me fixing that problem. I bought an anti-slip spray to help fix the problem. And then, so hopefully guys, this video has been helpful for you. If you like this video, subscribe to our channel. That's it. So that's the conclusion. When it comes to subscribing to the channel, I veer away from asking people to subscribe in the intro. We see that a lot in YouTube creators, but I feel like there will never be a time when you just started watching a video and you'll be interested in subscribing to the person you don't know. It should be always at the end. That's a small tip. Do you have tips on building relationships with end customers via social media or tips on managing detractors online? Detractors will always be there. What I usually do is just delete their comments, or I respond to them in a funny way. But as a brand, it's very hard to do that. As a company, if it's very sensitive, so I'd advise to just delete the comment. Don't even mind it. There will always, no matter how good your video is, there will always be haters. These are probably, the problem with this is we don't know these people. They're hidden behind a screen. It's probably a 13-year-old boy who's just bored on their keyboard somewhere at in I don't know, different part of the world. So I just don't mind them. When it's building relationships with end customers, it's always about, again, helping them out with their problems. You don't shove anything down their throats. You be very aware that you're not trying to sell them, even if the topic does not actually involve your product anymore. A company that does this well is Moment. Moment is a brand of, they sell phone cases, they sell lenses for the iPhone to make it better quality. What they do is they talk about their product from time to time, but in some of their videos, they're just taking a road trip, all about photography, all about videography. They'll teach you about how to shoot videos using the iPhone. So there's nothing really hard sell about it. But since the YouTube channel is called Moment, there's always that impression and there's always that relationship already.
All right. I think we have another question from Riz. Are there any differences between selling to rural and urban Asian customers over YouTube?
Here in the Philippines, I haven't noticed any big difference. As long as you're trying to solve a specific need, if it's a specific need in rural or urban areas, maybe that's what you cater to, again, niching down. But not really. It depends on the audience that you're trying to reach. If it's the language that you use. I talk in English and Taglish because I cannot speak Tagalog straight because I'm in a different province in the Philippines. Tagalog should be the main. So it kind of makes it harder for lower income people to understand me because they like to talk about, they want people who talk Tagalog. I don't know, any Filipinos out there who can jive with me or understand me. But I see that as a strength also because I'm catering to the high-end housing market. I'm catering to Light Block, which is selling to houses that are most likely going to be middle income or higher income. I'm I'm talking to the developers, the people that watch me, who would be making high-rise buildings. So I again, with being niched down, that's one way of niching down as well, the language that you use.
Great, thanks, Slater. Any more questions for Slater? I think maybe Slater, for some of them, they're also exploring digital marketing and paid ads.
Okay.
So do you have any, sort of advice or best practices dealing with paid ads as well?
Yeah, so I get paid a lot also for posting on my social media channels, whether it's like shampoos or cell phones, watches. So these types of things are fairly expensive. If you're tapping a very famous person, it's expensive. What other brands do is they do seeding. Seeding is like a gift. You give the people a gift, but from the, like, for example, I give a cell phone to you and in hopes that you would post it on your social media account. But it's hard for our types of industry. I can't give someone Light Block. But if I have the budget, maybe I can give a celebrity who's building their home Light Block. I'll supply the Light Block for you. Can you post about it? Something like that. That's also one way of working with them. We call it here in the Philippines X deals, exchange deals. When are you guys interested in like talking about paying influencers, or is that something that
I think more on like boosting ads later on, for example, Facebook or Instagram to reach more customers and potentially convert.
Okay. So what we did in Lightblock is to compute the customer acquisition cost. Customer acquisition cost is for every peso that I get, how much is it in sales that is returned to me? Or better yet, how much is it in profit that is better, comes back to me? For example, for every dollar that I spend, do I get more than $1 in profit? If that's a yes, that's a very, very good thing, because imagine for every dollar you spend, you get back, let's say, $1.50. So I'll basically have unlimited marketing budget. But that has to work with you trying out different marketing strategies, the colors of the poster that you do, the videos that you do, which gives you the best return. So you keep an eye on the customer acquisition cost. For us, it works, but it's fairly a hassle to sort all inquiries, mostly because a lot of people are just curious about our product. A lot of when we post it and boost it, we get 100 inquiries. From those 100, we get one that closes. The customer acquisition cost is still positive, but it takes so long to convert that into a sale. And for us, we're doing it, but we're not putting all our efforts into it. We get more from organic relationship-based the YouTube videos, because they're decided already. I want Lightblock. No matter what, I want Lightblock. When you're advertising as a boost post, it's most likely going to be, oh, is this a fit for me or not? So imagine our sales team have to sort through those 100 to give them quotes for every single one. Oh, I have this house. Does this work for me? Can you give me a quote if you deliver to this certain area? So we'll have to give them quotes. Yeah, so it takes a lot of time sorting through all these things out. Is there any specific question I can answer when it comes to boosting posts on social media? It's just if I were to summarize it, simplify it, it's like throwing a net into the ocean and hoping that you get some fish into a wide, wide ocean, versus this where the fish come to you when it's organic and relationship based.
There's also a trend, I guess, now later, especially with everybody kind of stuck in home, that a lot of brands are building communities. So, for example, Facebook groups, and then starting a lot of organic conversations there. Is that something that you've looked into, or something that you can share with the team on whether that's effective or not?
I'm not really very good at that. I'm joining a Facebook group called Home Buddies because it's very aligned with what I do. Here in the Philippines, it's viral right now. It's a group where it's all about home improvement, but there's no brand attachment to it. I think if there was a brand attached to it, it would not do as well, because again, we tend to veer away from being sold to. If it was called, instead of being called Home Buddies, if it were called Lightblock Group, it wouldn't do as well, even if the contents were similar. I think because the community has the organic element. Online is all about being organic and authentic. It's not like a TV ad where, okay, this is a new Coca-Cola. It's not that. It should be authentic, organic, and you have to answer the question of why would a user or a viewer want to watch my video over the thousands of other videos out there.
All right. I know that we're a little bit over time, Slater,
okay.
so thanks so much for joining us. Any last questions from the group? about your social media activity that Slater can help answer?
What is the best decision you have made in your career and business? And the worst one that you did? I think I had a lot of worse ones, more than the good ones. Very plenty of mistakes. But the best decision would be always to hire good people. Good people can help you out. You asked me how I'm able to manage my time across all these businesses. So I have good people editing my videos that I don't have to micromanage. I have good people managing my plant, my factory. I have a good R&D team, a good sales team. I pay them well, make sure they're happy. It's all about the culture and giving. I would say my culture is all about, I want you to see yourself working for the company until forever. So I give them what they need to stay there, a good quality culture. They have fun working for me. They get paid well. They get good benefits. So at the end of the day, it pays you back like 10,000 fold. I'm in the pandemic. I'm working from home. They're all in the factory working harder than me, and I'm just steering the boat because I hire good people that I can trust. That's the biggest, by far the biggest, best decision that I've made.
All right. I know that, today's session was really supposed to be about social media, but if you have any other questions about Slater, maybe his business journey, I know that several of the businesses here are in a pretty similar field to what Slater is doing. So any questions, it could be about product development or manufacturing. Slater oversees both of those for LightBlock.
Yeah.
Any questions while we have Slater with us? I think we have quite a number of materials companies. So we have Affordable Abodes, My Dream Home. Sampangan is also in building materials. Any questions,
a lot of the people here are into manufacturing, right? So I can relate a lot, and I can share to you guys the system that we implemented, and maybe it can help you out. We implemented, I don't know if I invented this or this is something already there out there in the universe. I just figured it out somehow. We always have this rule of QSE, quantity, QSI, quality first. So everybody operates in this mindset. So it's always, if you're having to make a decision so that I don't have to keep making the decisions for my people, we always focus on quality. If you have a question of if I should, sir, we are very tight on supply, but I have maybe 10% less quality for our clients. Maybe we can push that out. It's always a no, because we operate in the QSI point of view, quality, supply before income. So we have to be able to give quality output first. Second is supply. So if it's like a filter for you to help them make decisions. Quality, supply, income. So before any profit happens, we have to give quality first. If we can't give the quality product, better not supply it at all. That's before income comes in, and efficiency and all these other things. So if we were to say, do we throw this out because it's not good quality? It's always a yes, because income part is the later on. So even if it's such a simple concept, by giving that power to your people and by telling them about it, they can make decisions on their own. It's automatic for them. Oh, this would be against the culture of the company, so we don't provide it to them. And when it comes to manufacturing, my biggest advice would be to read the book by the Intel, Andrew, I think I have it. Wait, let me Google it. It's such a good book. Andrew Grove, High Output Management. It's one of the best management books when it comes to manufacturing that I've read. It starts off with a story of a breakfast factory. So the good thing about it is he's able to make complicated concepts about manufacturing and make it into very digestible pieces. The biggest takeaway I got from this is when you're manufacturing, there's step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4, step 5, right? Not until the end, until it reaches the customer. Every step that before you catch your mistake makes it more expensive. So if I get the quality control of the raw materials right, that's the cheapest mistake that I can make. If there was a mistake there, if I were to check that portion, that would be the cheapest way to fix that problem. The most expensive mistake is you've spent everything already to create the product and your customer gets it and is not happy with it because of the quality. So that's the most expensive mistake. You have to repair the relationship with the customer, but you've also spent on everything here. Just to give you a feel for the book, he manages to make it into very digestible similarities. For example, you're cooking breakfast and you bought an egg from the grocery. The cheapest time for you to catch that mistake is when you just bought the egg and you put it back on the shelf because you notice it's bad. If you were to take it home and cook it, you would have spent the gas to take it home. You would have spent the gas to cook it. You would have spent the energy to cook it, the labor, or whatever. And then that would be more expensive than if it were at the grocery. And after it's delivered to you to eat, and if you ate it, that's the most expensive part because you've spent all that, plus you have to repair your health because you ate something bad. So that's like how the book works, and it's very like I highly recommend anyone in manufacturing to read it.
Thanks, later. I think Nick put the author's name in the chat. I think it's High Output Management by Andrew Grove. Thanks, Nick. All right. There's a question from Fauzal. Maybe we could end with this question. Could you share a little bit more about your sales process?
Sales process, I feel like we're not doing anything different from everyone else. What in particular would that?
Yeah, Fauzal, maybe you can share a little bit more about this question.
Sure. Yeah, probably in the context of, for example, for us, one of our client are property developers themselves, right? In which and this is a market that we are currently developing. So we don't have a market fit as of yet. So in our case, we try to understand what is their objectives, what they want to achieve, which we learn. They want to figure out a way on how they can execute the houses as fast as possible, so they can reduce man days cost, so that they get more margin. So from there, only then we start to go in with we might have a solution for you, which is our prefabricated material from activated carbon. So and then we show the model, and then the normal sales process starts, which is like, give us your house design so we can measure and calculate how much material do you need, and we can create quotation, and the normal sales process goes. So was wondering what would be the case for your business. Maybe that's something that we can also try and implement in Sampangan, Indonesia. Appreciate it, later. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for the question. that was what was happening to us a lot when we were starting out, because it's a new product. Nobody wants to try it, because why would I risk my product, my project, by using a new product when this other product is tested? That's a very, very, I think a lot of us can relate to that. Why would I use light block when you're fairly new in the market, and when hollow blocks has been the industry standard? Hollow blocks are not perfect, but I cannot trust you yet. So I feel like it's a matter of trust. What I would say the turning point for us was getting good relationships. This was pre-social media. Getting good relationships with a few clients that trust you a lot. There are always going to be the skeptics. There's always going to be the early adopters. So you're looking for those early adopters, the ones that understand where you're coming from right away. So even when you're selling, you can sense it. This guy is skeptical. Not yet. You go and look for people that are willing to help you, that understand the problem that you are trying to fix and have the same pain points as you. So when you've had that, you can have a back and forth relationship with them, and they're more willing to accept a trial product, or one that is not yet defined in what it really wants to be yet. And it's like a few question marks here and there. So for us, we've had a few customers. One was someone who really did not like hollow blocks. So he was like, I want to support you, give me your product. And we gave him our product. I'll try it out. He loaded it up in his pickup truck. At this time, we haven't even sold one product yet. We said, it's not yet for sale. We're still experimental, but you can try it out. So we loaded up in his pickup. When he reached home, he called me, Slater, your blocks are broken. So it was very, very embarrassing on my end that this happened. But he said, I know that you're still starting out. Let me know when you've fixed this problem. So we tried and tried and tried to fix it, and then got him to try it out again. And then he started liking the product. And since he was and this happened with several other similar stories with other people that trusted us. He started trying out the product. And with that, he was able to, I think, construct three projects with us. This was probably 8 years ago. He was able to use that. And then one of them was a Toyota factory, a Toyota showroom. So we'd put up logos on these projects and pictures of these projects on our website and on our marketing materials. Hey, Toyota, use this. They're happy with the product. And this one was a house that we did. So you start to slowly make the leap from the early adopters to a bigger, broader market, because you're banking on the reputation from all the other projects that you have done. So I think that is where we kind of made our mark when it comes to being credible. But it really, really took, I think, 3-4 years until most of the popular contractors, popular architects to actually trust us, because they wanted to see the long-term effect of our products when it comes to all the previous projects that we did. So what we do is like, we were really not sure if you can we can trust the product. Oh, we'll take you to our other projects which has been there for like 4 or 5 years already. We'll show you around and see that, there's no cracks on the walls. The product is good quality. So it takes a while, I feel. A good book
So at
for
the
that.
end, it's also like about relationship building, yeah.
Yeah. If you want to read more about it, it's Crossing the Chasm. The book talks about how startups can has to start with these early adopters, and it's very, very accurate too. I read the book after all these experiences, and it's very, very accurate.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Slater. I think before we end, the session today, if I could just ask everybody to turn on their cameras for a quick group photo with Slater, and then we'll wrap up very quickly after that. All right. So not sure if Hannah and Diaz are here, but in any case, all right. Smile, everybody. 1, 2, 3. Great. Again, thank you so much, Slater, for joining us.
Thank you, everyone.
Feel free to put in the chat, any channel where we can reach you or find out more about your content, so that everybody can also look into it.
If you want to just type in Slater Young on YouTube, you'll find my channel.
All right, wonderful. We only have a few minutes before we end, so I'll just some key takeaways. Some points for reflection from today. What are the 3 key things that you will take to build your brand, and what are some of the goals and targets that you'll set for your brand on social media? So maybe you can take some tidbits and tips that Slater shared with us today and work that into your own communication strategies that you already have in place. All right. And as always, feedback is a gift. So just before we wrap today's session, if you could all go on to menti.com and use the code AD217245. And I think Mickey will also send something in the chat box. Please answer a very quick feedback form about today's session, so that we can improve for tomorrow's final session on the Learning Lab. Great. I see Tim has searched Slater right away. Thanks, Tim. All right. And as you guys know, Slater is part of the steering committee for ShelterTech. So he's actually already helped, a few of you through some connections and linkages that he knows within the industry. So if you guys want to touch base with Slater, let us know and we'll help you connect with him as well. All right. So while you're answering the feedback form, just some quick reminders for tomorrow. So our session tomorrow starts an hour later than it did today. That's 10 a.m. Manila time. Come prepared with your pitch. We're having session number 2 of impactful storytelling and pitching with Neil Bearden from Plot Wolf. So for those of you who have not yet recorded your pitches and posted them on Mighty Networks, now would be a great time to do so, just so that we have enough feedback for tomorrow's session. And lastly, I think Mickey had sent over a link in an email yesterday, which includes the donation form for the Autodesk software donation program. As you know, Autodesk is one of our strongest partners at ShelterTech. And so it would be great for you to fill that up. I think most of you have already spoken with the DATEC team regarding which Autodesk solutions work best for your company. So please fill out the form that is in the email. There are a few questions that we received regarding the Autodesk software donation program. And just so that I can kind of go over a few of those questions right now, there were some questions around whether the licenses for the Autodesk software had a time limit. So the Autodesk software donation will be a 3-year subscription. And then another question that we had was, is there a need to buy the license after the time is up to continue using it? So after the 3 years, you will be invited to reapply for a donation, and Autodesk will review your organization's eligibility again after those 3 years are up. If at that time you're ineligible for a donation already, Autodesk will connect you with a local reseller in your area to explore your options. So if you have any other additional questions regarding the Autodesk software donation, please feel free to email us and we can forward this to the Autodesk Foundation team. All right. So again, just a reminder, there are 3 questions on the feedback form. So hopefully you've answered all of them. So there's a question on our group, our peer sharing today, and then there's another question on our social media storytelling session, and the final question on feedback from all of you. All right. Any questions before we wrap today's session? All right, great. So thank you everyone for spending your Tuesday mornings with us. See you all tomorrow for day 2 of our learning lab. Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Have a good
Thank you,
day.
everyone. Have a good
Thank
day.
you.
Thanks, Kath. See ya.
Thank you. Okay. Bye,
Bye.
Nikki.